Berlin beckons for England and Spain, who meet in the final of the European Championship. The pre-tournament favourites versus the nation that has impressed the most and is now at the top of the bookmakers list. This is Betting Weekly Extra Time, Euro 2024 edition. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Steve Wyss. Nigel, you were in Dortmund last night. England getting the job done very, very late on in their semi-final. How's the head, first of all?
Head's all right. Legs, body, everything else, that's a different question. The actual head's all right. It's the rest of the body is actually in the main problem. One big problem I got the wrong train. I was heading to Eindhoven with 5,000 Dutch fans, and then I realised I was on the wrong train and got out with 1% on my phone and tried to get an Uber. They wanted €300 to get me back. And then I said to the woman, some woman come past after about half an hour, and she said to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "Dusseldorf." She said, "Oh, the next train's 2 hours, 20 minutes. So, yeah, I only just got in about an hour ago. So it's quite an achievement to have me on here. So, yes, it might be coming home, and last night I wasn't coming home.
See if you can recall the match for us. I mean, from an England point of view, Nigel, have England found their form at the right time? Look, we know that they haven't been great, but they're in the final, and we've seen a little bit better, haven't we, from Gareth Southgate's side?
I am the worst person to ask what happened in that football match last night. I've been at the 2 football matches, and I've had to Google what the score was. So I am the worst person you could possibly ask how the game went. And my friend just spoke to me there, and he said, "Oh, that Dumfries, he cleared one off the line. He had the head of it." I was like, "What? What? I thought he was talking about Scottish football. I've got no idea what happened to Dumfries last night." So I'm the worst person you could possibly ask what happened. But what I am, I'm good at odds. I don't know. I didn't even know that Harry Kane scored in the 18th minute. I thought it was like the second half. So I'm probably not the best person to have on this show, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll still whiz make some money. My point of England is England are getting better, definitely, 100%. He's found a system flukily, found a system that's worked. They've got better, they've got belief. And I've said all along, since when they got that last-minute goal, Bellingham scored that goal to get them through, you have to be lucky. England rode their luck in that match, got lucky, got to the next match against Switzerland, rode their luck, come through in penalty shootouts, and things are falling into place with England. And I think that they've gone through, in anything in life, you've got to go through some bad times to have some good times. And this England side have gone through some very, very dark times to have some good times. The Spanish side are just riding on the crest of wave. Lamau has got no idea what he's all about.
Steve, what did you make of England's performance? I mean, were the Dutch a little unlucky? The penalty shout that could have gone in Holland's favour. I mean, you could debate that long into the night. That is their Koeman moment from '93, isn't it, here with Harry Kane getting the penalty?
It wasn't a penalty, but they weren't unlucky. England outplayed them the first half, and then pretty much after the game, Ronald Koeman admitted that in the second half they deserved no more than extra time. So I think the Dutch were pretty poor, actually. As usual, Koeman, when the pressure's really on, he didn't have the balls, did he, really, to go for it enough and use his weapons. So I thought it was a pretty poor Netherlands performance, to be honest.
But what weapons has he got, though, Steve? Steve, what weapons has he got?
Well, you got your likes, your Cody Gakpo's, your Javi Simons of this world. He actually, to be fair, he did actually put Weghorst on, but he didn't even use him.
And that's your weapon, Weghorst. That's your weapon, Weghorst. It's like going into war with no bullets.
But they
second half.
Look at their passes, right? They were going backwards, sideways, everything. They were not looking forward as they normally do. That's the point.
Second half, look, there's no doubt that the Dutch were better second half when Weghorst come on. Look, final is 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Spain, Nigel, a minus 155 to lift the trophy. England plus 120. I mean, you've got to say, Nigel, that Spain have been the most impressive side. I mean, they had a tough group on paper, Croatia and Italy, and then Germany, of course, and France in the knockout stages. If you were to say which side has played the best football, who deserves to be favourites, do those futures prices look right to you?
100%, 100%. But they haven't They've just come through. They haven't been tested. They haven't found a side like England who are going to test them. They've been exceptional what they've done. They haven't really, as you say, on paper, the group looked difficult. The Germany match was unbelievable. The performance against France was incredible. But have they peaked too soon? And that's my thing about sports. Sometimes I think you might peak too soon. I always use an analogy on tennis. If you play a couple of real tough 5-setters against the top number 1 and number 2 seed to get to the Wimbledon final or the US Open final, you're spent by the time you got to the final. Whereas England haven't really had that test yet, and I still think England have got other gears to go into. I honestly think that England we've seen them in patches, but we haven't seen the best of this England side. We've seen the best, and probably the best that the Spanish side can be. And I think they may come here with a psychology that they've done the hard work already and place England. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think the matchup is going to be difficult. All the pace that the Spanish side offer, the tactics, the running off the ball is difficult for England. But what we've seen so far, yes, they deserve to be favourites. But I wouldn't bet them.
Steve, Spain were plus 800 at the start of the tournament. Few were tipping them, but obviously they have really made a big impression on everyone. What's your assessment of De La Fuente's team?
Well, they've been the best team in the tournament. They deserve to be the favourite, but I mean they're a quarter ball favourite now, which feels a little bit maybe too much. But I mean logically, if it's based on tournament form, Spain should win easily. There's been night and day between the two sides, hasn't there, really? But I want a word of caution for Spain backers. There's been 2 times in this tournament when I think they've been tested, and they looked a little bit on the ropes against Germany when the Germans came back to equalise. Last 20 minutes of that game, they were all over him. And to be honest with you, I actually thought France, first 20 minutes in the semi-final, had control. And if Yamal had not produced that moment of magic, and it had stayed 1-0 France for a bit longer, who knows? So I do think, again, I mean, I've heard some suggestions that they do have a slightly soft underbelly if you can get at it. No one's really been able to get at it, have they? But if England could put them under a bit of pressure at times, and England will have moments in the game, and Spain, let's see what they've got.
What price would you be, England, to win this match if it was like the first match of the tournament? This is the most important thing.
England would be favourites. England would be favourites.
It would be the other way round. It would be exactly the other way round. So what do you look at? Do you look at the current form, or do you look at like what we've seen? So all the stuff we've seen for the last 3 years. Do we forget that and just look at what we've seen for the last 2 weeks?
Well, Nigel, this was the discussion we were having ahead of the Switzerland game. It ended up being a draw, but you can make a good case for the Swiss on 2-week form. You could make a really good case for England, as you did for the last 2-year form. And that's the sort of same thing that we're looking at again for the final. 100%. Just before we get to the money line, very, very quickly, Golden Boot. Kane's got 3 goals plus 175. Olmo's got 3 plus 250. Do we see any movement there? Or indeed, player of the tournament, Nigel? Yamal is now plus 175. Young player of the tournament is minus 625. Could they give him both awards, do you think? Have you got any thoughts on those futures before we get moneyline thoughts?
As I said to you, I think you've got to be a sponsored by Adidas. And he's sponsored by Adidas, so I think he's got a good chance of winning it. On both of the counts. I mean, the other contenders. I mean, Rodri, he's sponsored by Nike, so I think you could rule him out straight away. So I think if you're going to bet him at minus $6 to win the Young Player of the Year, plus 175 to win the Player of the Year, play the tournament, the plus 175 to win the Player of the tournament is a fantastic price.
Steve, just any thoughts very briefly on that? I mean, England haven't got a player in the top 4 of the market. Bellingham 9-1, Saka 14s, Kane 16s. If England win the tournament, is there a case to be made for one of those?
It would have to be someone who sort of dominated the final. Bellingham would be the most obvious, I suppose. If he goes back to that goal he scored against Slovakia. But I mean, can you give a player both awards?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. You must be able to.
Andy Gray won the Young Player of the Year and the Player of the Year, didn't he? And the very famous.
That's very different.
But if you meet Andy Gray, he tells you about it 20 times.
Right, Moneyline, just before we get into it, if you've been backing the draws, you're in profit. If you've been backing unders, you're winning. Likewise, both teams to score. Yes, we'll get to some goals markets shortly. Those are the tournament stats. Moneyline like this: Spain plus 143, England plus 255, draw plus 185. Nigel, look, Spain were bigger to beat Germany and France, and you've already alluded to it. Should the bookmakers have a little bit more respect of England here. 255 is a big price. They haven't been that big since they played Spain, again, away in a Nations League game back in 2018. They won that one. There were nearly 6-1 shots then. What do you make of the money line odds?
On the build-up to this match, England will be bet. There's no doubt about it. The Spanish market now is the price on the Spain is the price on the Spain, and people will turn around and they'll give you all the data and tell you that England that they're going to get beat 2 or 3-0 and they're the best team in the tournament. But as the build-up to this final comes, and the media gets hyped about England, England will be bet. So if you want to take a bet now, you want to bet England on a money line or England to qualify, you will be on a ticket that is more value now. On kick-off time than it is now. Spain.
Are you playing that, Nigel? Are you playing it?
I've already bet England, as you know. I bet England when I was
But
out.
Would you bet them now for a pick?
I tell you the one thing that I would say, being out here, right, is that there isn't really many. Every match we've gone to, there's more opposition fans than England fans. So yet last night it was insane. The Dutch support was incredible. When we went to the Switzerland match, it was more Swiss than everything. When we go to Berlin, I promise you, it will be 10-1 English fans in Spain, and I don't think that has been factored into this price so much. The stadium will have 80,000 people, but I reckon 60,000 of them will be English supporters in that stadium. So I think that it will be like a home game for England, and that is another thing. Also, I think that the experience that England have had over the years of playing in these big tournaments, the fact that these players have won major tournaments, the fact that they played in the Euro final last year, they played in World Cup semi-finals, is such a big impact. Whereas this Spanish side, however good they've done, they've been brilliant. They're the rookies to me. They're the rookies in a big tournament, and I don't know whether they've got it in the big final. And I think the moment is England. I would, if I hadn't had the position now, I would definitely be betting England to win the tournament if I didn't have the position already. I was always looking to lay my position. I was looking to hedge my position because it was a bet that I had when a reactional bet. But now, as the tournament progresses, I don't think I will hedge because I don't think there's any value to hedging. I think there's more value to betting than to go with the Spanish.
What do you make, Steve, of the money line here in the Asian handicap line? As you mentioned previously, Spain minus a quarter here at minus 103. England plus a quarter at minus 124, and the money line as well. Do you agree? Do you think England are going to get bet between now and the final?
I think England are nearly a bet. To be honest, on the Asian plus 0.25, it just feel wrong. I think, like Nigel said, pre-tournament, it would be the other way around. The actual probably fair line is probably somewhere in the middle, isn't it? Probably pick 'em on a level ball. It's probably fair. So England are a bit of value. Would I bet them? Not really, because logic. Well, I'm quite a logical thinker, and logic in my brain is thinking Spain really should win this game. But I've got a gut feeling that weird stuff has been happening with England. They've been quite lucky, and sometimes you can just kind of feel that a team will find a way to win it. Honestly, it feels like England's time. And I hate to use the phrase, name on the trophy. That's so gimmicky, isn't it? But just maybe the name is on a trophy for England. They were 90 seconds from being knocked out. I mean, I just feel that's got to mean something. But on the logical part of my brain, thinks Spain should comfortably get the job done.
Spain, Steve, beat France without 50% of their back four. Do you think that Lenormand and Carvajal will come straight back in just for a bit of sort of team use chat?
Definitely. I thought Navas was lucky. France didn't put enough pressure on him in the second half. And Lenormand is definitely the favoured centre-back, isn't he? I think both replacements were a little bit dodgy, and France did not take advantage of him enough. Simple as that. England certainly would. I think at least try and target them a bit more. So, the two suspended guys will be straight back in the team.
Nigel, what do you make of the England lineup? I mean, Shaw came on at half-time. You might not remember that from last night, but he did. Trippier, I think, is a very minor doubt. I mean, Gareth Southgate, he sticks. It doesn't matter what Kane's doing, what other players are doing, Foden. He'll stick with that 11, do you think, with Trippier, or do you think Shaw might start to give England a bit of balance?
I think Shaw will start. I think that's a good thing for England. I think the England lineup picks itself apart from that position on the left side. I think Shaw comes in. It's a big factor. he proved that he played well yesterday in 45 minutes, turned the game around. And I think that they've sort of stumbled across the system, as I say. They've got this system that now works. They're playing the best they can, and he sort of got lucky. And he's just hitting free rolls. He's got lucky. He's just been rolling the dice and getting lucky, and it just has that feel. I never have many years I've watched England over the years, and I've always been worried and concerned about the performance. This tournament, I just think. I know it's, as Steve said, the name's on the trophy, but there seems to be this no fear, and I think there's no pressure. The fact is that the England supporters don't expect us to win. They think we're going to go okay. The media in England doesn't really think we can win. But I think all the pressure's on Spain. Every bit of pressure's on the Spanish side. They're young. We don't know what they're like. And, in top-class sport, when you're young and experienced, things can go one of two ways. And majority of the time, it goes negative for you. You only learn from your disappointments. And I just got this... I don't know. Everything about me is thinking that England a value here, and I just can't get over it. I just can't get away from the price of them.
Yeah, look. I know you've got a heavy position for England to win the tournament, but it sounds like for bettors looking for a money line play, there's a heavy lean to England. Steve, you have got an official pick for the show, not on the money line, but it is on one of the sort of major markets, the half-time, full-time. What do you like here?
I have a bet on that market as well.
Oh, all right. Hang on. Let's go on then, Nigel.
No, Steve, go first.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to have a unit on the half-time, full-time market, and I'm going to go tie. I mean, I quite like half-time draw again here, but it's minus 114. It's just not a real value. I quite like the draw inside 90 minutes, so let's combine them together. Tie at half-time, tie at full-time, plus 290. I think it's worth a go. I mean, the last 2 Euro finals, I think, have ended a draw. I think it's got every chance. Goes all the way into extra time. It's felt like that way with England, hasn't it? So I will chance my arm at a big price, plus 290 in that market.
Nigel?
I disagree, actually. I think this is going to be quite an open final. I think that England have to go at them. I think they can't sit back because they're going to give up too much possession. And I think if you give this Spanish side too much possession and too much confidence, they'll grow into the game and they'll destroy you. So I think England have got to go at the front foot, be physical, and absolutely put it on them straight away. And I think there'll be goals in this final. I like the over 2 goals. I think England will. I can see a very entertaining final. I think Southgate's going to go out and say, right, okay, let's have a go, because you can see England's performance getting better and better and better and more expansive as this system works, especially if Shaw comes in. And I think if we sit back and pay respect to Spain, we will be 0-0 at half-time, and eventually they'll get a goal and they'll score the goal early doors. But what I like here in that half-time, full-time market is a bet that I like. And England, throughout history, not in this tournament, throughout history, every time England go behind in any major tournament, they come back and they play their best football. We saw it in the Euro 20, the last European Championships, when they went behind against Denmark. They come back and they played the best. We've seen it last night. We've seen it in tournaments before. Switzerland, England come back. I quite like Spain to be leading at half-time and England to be leading at full-time. It's 35-1 with Bet Rivers, and I think that's the kind of game we'll see here. I can see Spain going 1-0 up at half-time and England throwing Tony, Foden, going all out, and England winning it 2-1 off and demoralising, because the Spanish will sit back then. And I think an early goal, I believe that we're going to be in for a good final here. And that would be my bet. That's a little lean I have here. I like the over 2 goals. I'm not going to go. This whole tournament has been low scoring. You're not going to make any money betting under 1.5 goals, under 2 goals at the current lines we see. The draw is plus 175, plus 180. I mean, if you're going to bet draws in plus 180, well, you're going to do your brains over a long period of time. So I'm going to go for goals here. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me to see it be 0-0. But I just think that if England want to win this and want to show aspirations to win this, they cannot afford this young Spanish team to get confident, because when they get confident, they're going to be too good for England. England have to go at it. But I do expect England to put a performance in, and every time England performance through this tournament, for any tournament, when they put the performance in, is when their back's against the wall. So I like Spain to be leading at half-time and England to be leading at full-time, 35-1.
Yeah, plus 3,500 if you like that combination for half-time, full-time. And as we're talking about goals here, man, I think you're absolutely right. And when it comes to the draw, look, we've been highlighting draw throughout the tournament, but the price is gone. There's no value in that whatsoever. And to a certain extent, I think it's the same when it comes to the goals as well, because although unders has been profitable over the course of the campaign, just recently we started to see both teams to score yes over the last few matches. We're seeing overs over the last few matches. There's a little bit of regression here. I mean, you go historically, Steve, and you say, well, the last 2 finals have been unders, as have 9 of the last 10. But just recently, it looks like we've seen a few more goals. I'll just rattle through some prices. We'll get Steve's thoughts on the goal lines. Over and under 2.5. Over is plus 155, which I like. Under minus 200. The Asian line is 2, minus 122 for over, minus 104 for under. And both teams to score yes is minus 104 and no is minus 136. What's your take on the goals, Steve, when it comes to the final between England and Spain?
Well, I'd go over rather than under if I had to. I'm expecting to see quite a lot of both teams score yes tips around approaching the match. The thing is, Spain, I mean, the Spain-France game highlighted it. France did not want really an open game particularly, but Spain kind of suck you into that, don't they, the way they play. So and England might well react to that. So yeah, I would go over rather than under if I had to for this game. The 1-1 draw is certainly on my radar.
Do we get an official pick from you, Nigel? Over 2.5 at plus 155?
No, I mean, everyone's gone about England's performances in this tournament and how bad they played and the games have been awful and dreadful and all this kind of stuff, yeah? They played 6 matches in this tournament, 4 of them both teams have scored.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, we do, and England have scored in every match apart from the match against Slovenia. Oh, admittedly, quite lucky, but the last 3 matches, the Slovakia game was a 1-1 draw, regular time, Switzerland 1-1 draw, last night 2-1. I like both teams to score yes at minus 108. I think what you want in this final, and this is what every bettor wants, and every in-running bettor wants, and every professional, anybody who's a football purist, you want Spain to go 1-0 up early. If Spain go 1-0 up early, we have got a fantastic football match because England will just go at it. The worst thing we can have here is a 0-0 draw, England trying to defend, England go 1-0 up and just sit back and then inevitably wait for them. So you want an early Spanish goal to excite. So whatever way you look at it, I think that England have to go at the front foot. I think they'll pay respect for the first 25 minutes. I think it'll be occasionally first 25 minutes, but I think inevitably you've got to go for it. And I like goals. You know, I'm not a goals bettor. I've made a lot of money on this tournament betting the under the totals, but I think the goal line here is looking at the tournament as a whole, but I think in every knockout match so far, every semi-final there's been goals, overs has been cashing, the quarterfinals both teams were scoring, and I think you know it's going to be I think it's going to be an open match, and what we want as a purist is Spain to go 1-0 up.
That 1-1 incidentally is trading at plus 410. I think that might be popular amongst an awful lot of bettors. Let's just get some thoughts on goal scorers here, see if we get some leans from the boys. When it comes to England, Kane, he's got 3 goals, as we know. Nigel, plus 265 to score at any time. Foden, plus 480. Bellingham, plus 575. Saka's got the one, of course, plus 750. Morata, probably going to play. We know he got totaled by that steward after the game in the semi-final, but he's plus 325. He's got 1. Yamal, plus 500. Olmo just a bit bigger. Likewise, Nico Williams. Danny Olmo's got 3. Any goal scorer leans from yourself, Nigel? Who do you like for those that like a
well, I mean, it's an obvious play, isn't it? It's an obvious play, but Harry Kane at plus 265. I mean, his record in international football is sensational. He's going to start. You've got Watkins and Tony who are going to be on the bench. They won't start. Nothing will change. He will be the main focus for England. He offers the penalty kicks as well. I mean, everyone's saying he's had the worst tournament. The jokes have been going around on social media.
He could still end up being top goal scorer.
Top goal scorer,
yeah.
And you're getting plus 265 about him to score at any time. Can you imagine if it was Mbappe in this final and he was on 3 goals or 4 goals to win the Golden Boot? You'd be minus 110. Harry Kane, I was betting Harry Kane at the start of the tournament to score any time at evens. 265 seems in a game that I expect goals. I think there's more likely goals in this match than there was in the tournament opener against Serbia, and he was plus 110 to score at any time, and he's now plus 265, and he's got 3 goals in 6 matches. Harry Kane plus 265 got to be the bet.
We've not got a goal scorer play from Steve, but we have got a shots play from a couple of the Spaniards. Steve?
I've got a parlay here, same game parlay, and that is Dani Olmo and Fabian Ruiz, both to have over 1.5 shots. Just shots. They can land in row Z for all we care. But I mean,
Please
Fabian
stop.
Ruiz
That's where I'm sitting. So don't hit my head. My head's been hit a lot this week. Don't let me hit on the head and Rome's head, please.
Well, the way that Fabian Ruiz is shooting, you might be in danger because he loves a shot, this guy, but not much has been going on target. Both these players average 3 shots per game. Olmo especially is getting into some fantastic positions. I think plus 500 on him to score might be worth looking at. But, both, as I say, find themselves in some very good shooting positions just outside the area or just inside it. And it's not asking a lot for both just to have 2 shots each or more done. So at plus 200, that is my same game parlay for the match. From an England point of view, I quite like Saka to score at any time, plus 600. He's going to be up against Cucurella. And I know Cucurella's had a good tournament on the ball. I still don't trust him defensively, though. I think Saka could rinse him a little bit. It could be a matchup for delight for Saka. He's had a tough matchup, by the way, against Nathan Ake against the Netherlands, who knows him very well. I think Cucurella could get rinsed a bit. So plus 600 on Saka would be my goal scorer play.
We've got a couple of props from Steve as well. First one on the corners. Really like this one, Steve. Corner-wise, Spain have been winning more than England, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive given the sort of English game in general, but the stats suggest that Spain could be the play here. Talk us through this one.
This is just a lean, Dan. Minus 122, Spain most corners, just simply because England have not been getting many in this tournament. Did they even have a single corner against the Netherlands?
I don't think they did in the end, no.
Yeah, and
Nigel, can you confirm that? Did England have a corner?
Did England play Netherlands? I can't. No, I don't think so.
Go on, Steve.
So I think, this. I mean, there was one match where England got 9 or 10 corners. It might have been Slovenia or Slovakia. Take those out, they've hardly threatened the flag kicks. But there's one little caveat here. If Luke Shaw starts, I think England are suddenly going to be a bigger threat on that side of the field. So this is why it's only a lean, this particular bet. And Spain, not a big corner team. They're sort of an average corner team. They don't play for corners. They cut inside a lot from the side. So, I mean, the more I think about it, actually, this probably is going to be an under game for corners. Unless we get a lot of shots.
You can't bet that, Steve. Honestly, I'm going to step in here. You can't have a bet on the corners because the game changes. Well,
this is why it's only a lead.
You're losing, but you're losing such a small sample size. Okay, you're looking at matches where they're totally irrelevant, where they're 2-0 up, 3-0 up, don't score. England are sitting back. It's crazy. If England go 1-0 up, Spain will corner England by 5-1, and then if Spain go 1-0 up, you're betting on too many things. I just think sometimes in tournament football we look at too much analysis and don't actually think about our head. And I think corner plays are just the game changes.
The thing with corners, but Nigel, look, everything is factored into these prices. So game state can obviously dictate what corners might be.
No, it's not.
During a game. Of course it is.
It's a 9.5 line or 10.5 line, and then suddenly when the game goes on, then they factor in the 1-0 up, and the line goes up. You'll be moving one corner up on the fact of the gameplay. I think you're looking at. I don't think you can look at an average of a tournament and say a football team has got X amount of corners over 4-game average and turn around. If you give me 25 years average, I'll get it. But this is a final. I don't buy that. But anyway,
I'd say that England have hardly threatened corners in this tournament, though, Nigel. Although if Shaw does start,
well, if they're 2-0 down, I bet England get more 6.5 corners in the second leg. Tournament average will go completely up in smoke.
So, do you think, Nigel, then, if Spain lead, and this is what you're suggesting might happen,
if England are 2-0 down, they'll bring on Andy Gordon.
Hang on. Then England will have more possession. Is that your sort of take?
England
that's what happened with the Croatia game with Spain, wasn't it? Spain were in front. I think it was the first time for I don't know how many years that Spain didn't have the most possession in a match, and that was the game state because suddenly they were cruising to victory and they conceded possession, which is something you rarely see with Spain. So that's your take on what might happen if Spain go ahead, which is what you're suggesting will happen.
If England are 1-0 down and Spain are 1-0 up, they'll put on Eze, Anthony Gordon, they'll take off 2 defensive players, and England will get 4 corners in the last 10 minutes. For the average,
I must
the
admit,
average of a tournament is ridiculous.
This is one of my favourite plays. I was trying to convince Steve into official pick for the cutters, but it's only a lean. We have got a pick though when it comes to cards. Let's see.
Don't listen to cards. You can't have cards average on the tournament.
Let's see what Nigel thinks of this one. Steve, give us your to be carded play.
Well, there's two Spanish players I like here. I do like Rodri, but I think he's priced a little bit short. I'm going with Robin Lenormand to come back into the side and get a card at plus 330. I think he's under a bit of pressure in this game. Like I said, when Germany got on top of him a bit and sort of applied a bit more pressure than other teams have to Robin Lenormand, then he struggled a bit. And I think the same could happen here. England, I mean, if you look at that Spanish defence, right, if you look at it pre-tournament, you wouldn't have really said it was that good.
That was always the question mark when we did the outrights, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like you look at the Spanish backline.
Yeah, and of course it's played quite well. But when it's been tested, it's not been tested much. In this final, England may well test it more than it ever has been. So I think Robin Lenormand, he's averaging around 2 fouls per game in the tournament. Not that that means anything, because for a card...
Don't listen to Nigel, I love an average.
Dissent, and I mean, look at Van Dijk last night. He didn't actually have a foul, but he got carded. So, in a final, the one thing I will say at the time of recording, we don't know the referee, and now the talk is it's probably going to be the best referee in the world, Samon,
the Polish
Michaniak.
guy.
Yeah, the Polish guy. But there is talk, and this would frighten the hell out of me, that Clement Turpin is going to get the game, the French ref, who has such a low card average, and I would hate that, because if he's the ref, he'll only give about 2 or 3 cards. So, look, if it is Turpin, I wouldn't have a bet on the cards in the game, I've got to be honest. But if it is the Polish ref, yeah, he likes to dish them out, doesn't he? 5 or 6 probably be given in 90 minutes. So, Robin Lenormand, he's my main pick for the card at plus 330 for those who can get on the cards. Do look at Rodri as well. He's very cynical, and he's actually picked up loads of cards in this tournament already.
Let's get a recap then from the boys before we sign off for the European Championships and for the summer football action. Look, Nigel, you've talked about a number of the markets here. Give us your sort of best players or your best leans. I know you're heavily invested in England anyway. Would you suggest that people looking at the final now, get involved with England as soon as you can on the money line, look for overs goals? Just give us a recap of your sort of betting thoughts on the final.
Yeah, firstly, I think I've been a bit disrespectful there to Steve with some of his bets and just sort of like shouting him down a little bit. But I do think like this is a final, and I do think that things that we have will change during the match. That's why in-running betting is so good. That's why BetRivers offers so many different markets in play that you can get on the BetRivers app, because what your opinion now will change 20 minutes if things go against you. On cards, I like cards because obviously it's a final. You've got the added mix of players in experience, and the referee will want to stamp his authority straight away and give some cards out. So I get that, but I just think this is. If we looked at a bog standard Premier League match and you said to me this team averages 8.3 corners over the last 4 years, and they were playing this is a European Championship final, where this is the first time England have been involved in a final on foreign shores, and it's a huge match for Spanish. It's the biggest game in this Spanish players' career. So I think things go out the window. As far as I'm concerned, the way I look at it now, I think we are in for a final that could be exciting. I want to go against this trend. The unders betters have been getting the money. The underline is too short. The draw price in 90 minutes is too short. Any correlated market to them things, to me, could happen, but they don't represent value. Not at all, in my opinion. I'm not saying they won't happen, but they don't represent value. So I'm going to go for both teams to score, yes. I think, England's 4 matches out of their 6 in this tournament, both teams have scored. The defensive got problems going forward. We were still in first gear. We can hit 5 gears, in my opinion. And I do like that as a very small sort of fun bet. Spain to be leading at half-time and England at full-time, because England always play better when they go behind. And if the Spanish go 1-0 up, then we've got a monstrous and a fantastic final. And I don't want Spain to go 1-0 up, but I think that's a nice little way to hedge your bet. So I don't mean to go on about be disrespectful to Steve on his bits, but I just think that using average on a small sort of tournament rate, I just don't think you can do it in a final, because things change.
Steve, your betting roundup of the final. What do we like sort of to win it? Money line, goals, and your favourite play of the ones that you've put up.
Favourite play after all, that's got to be the corners, right?
Absolutely nailed down. I'm bang on it. Don't worry about that.
I tell you what, that was
Have it with me.
I don't think I've ever had so much talk about corners on a show. It's fascinating stuff.
We're desperate for content. We're desperate for content.
That remains a lean. My best bet is definitely that same game parlay. Wyss and Olmo over 1.5 shots each, plus 200. And I've gone also with the half-time, full-time tie, and the card on Le Normand. I think that's a big price.
Steve, who's lifting the trophy Sunday night, Berlin?
England.
Nigel?
I'll tell you what, that's on gut feeling, though. And I don't like doing that, but I do think on gut feeling England.
I think they're a value. I think they're a value bet on the money line. I think they're a massive price. I think Nigel's right. I think they're going to be bet, and as long as they're, plus 255, plus 2, whatever they are, as long as they're bigger than 2-1, I think they're a bet. Nigel, don't you? I think they're a bet.
To answer your question, who's lifting the trophy?
Yeah,
Seeley's lifting that trophy. Don't you worry about that.
Well,
it's coming home with me.
First of all, you got to get on the right train to make sure that you're on the way home. But apart from that, who knows? Nigel, Steve, many thanks for your company over the course of the European Championships. Let's hope that Nigel gets back in one piece. And just before we go, just a reminder to everyone who's tuned in over the course of the Euros, lots of new viewers. We've been really pleased with everyone that's watched. Lots of comments on YouTube. So if you think that the corners and the cards and the averages are a thing, make sure you let us know in the comments. Give us your favourite picks when it comes to the final. We'll do our best to reply to all your thoughts and all your bets. And of course, when the club football season comes around, we are back every single week. We've got Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga. We've got European shows as well as the Premier League show as well. So there's an awful lot of football content to come kicking off in August. So make sure that you're back with us for now, though, from Nigel, from Steve, and from myself, Dan, it is goodbye. Good luck with all your bets for the final, and we'll see you for the new season.